All right, everybody. Welcome to the best damn arm wrestling sports show. I am the guest today, Billy Ortagus, president of the Texas Arm Wrestling League, and I'm here with the hosts, Reza and Scott. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yes,
Absolutely.
sir. What's up, Billy? How you doing? What's up with TAL?
Everything. I mean, good Lord, it never stops.
A lot of responsibility, right? Being the president.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. I mean, as both of you probably know, it seems like all eyes are on you all the time, and what's everybody doing? What's this person doing? What's that person doing? And we're all of us are trying to raise the bar a little bit in our own way.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know. Arm wrestling seems to be in some good spots and in some other ways not in some good spots. So
Yep,
it's an interesting time for sure.
it is for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, do you have any events coming up anytime soon?
Yeah. So for the rest of the year, the 2024, we've got 2 events left for the TAL. The next one coming up will be on August the 3rd. It's going to be our Western Region qualifier. We're still trying to nail down some venues and stuff like that. It's been a little bit more difficult this go around, but that should be somewhere in the Midland, San Angelo area if we get what we're looking for. So that'll be our Western, and then we'll move forward into November this year for Texas State Championship.
Nice. And
So,
how long have you been arm wrestling?
so my first encounter with an actual, like, anything arm wrestling official, like on a table, I had kind of started dabbling in it a little bit, doing some of the workouts you see on YouTube, stuff like that. And in 2019, Travis Bagent had a tournament here in San Antonio with Dustin Laughlin. He's my Southern Region director. And I saw that tournament and I just showed up and I watched the tournament. I didn't participate that day. I just watched the tournament because I'd never actually practiced or anything at that time. Watched the tournament, was able to get on a side table with a few guys. And then I introduced myself to some of the local people, Dustin Laughlin, and some of the people that were already practicing on that team. And then from there, till October 2019 was basically the kickoff for me.
2019, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
it hadn't been that long. So,
yeah.
but a lot has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the TAL. You guys have done really, really well. Your
I
whole,
appreciate it.
yeah, your whole setup, the whole way you guys are going about it. I think every state needs to do exactly what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I think some people, I think that it's easy for them to forget kind of what we're focused on. I know, when you see most promoters, they try to get their feelers out across, say North America. Some of them stay regionally, some of them stay local, but it seems like a lot of the bigger promotions are, they're having events in other parts of the country and stuff like that. And I think one thing that people forget is that we are literally just about Texas. Like, we are a state league. We appreciate anybody from out of state that comes in, and we welcome that. And we've even brought people in, obviously. But everything we do, the main focus is Texas. We want to create that feel like you would get with any other sport, like a city league or, a state league or something like that. You wanted to get into, say, baseball or softball or soccer, in every city, there's 3 or 4 leagues you can be a part of. So that's kind of the focus on the state level, is that, this provides a consistent competition base for our pullers here in Texas. And they can attend all of them. They can attend 2 of them. They can attend just their region. And then at the end of the year, we throw all that together for the Texas State Championship and hope that everybody comes to that. And then we start all over again.
Now, you guys have your own ranking for the state through the TAL, or is that just a separate entity that does the ranking for Texas?
No, so we took that over. So I don't know, it kind of morphed into that, I think. So we took over the Texas rankings, and the original president, Keith Armbruster, and the directors at the time um made some new stipulations with it, and we went to a primarily super match based ranking. Um which I still believe in that today. I think there is a place for tournament rankings, absolutely. But if and it can get a little wishy-washy from time to time, but I think at the end of the day, super match based rankings are as true as it's going to get
Yeah, I
for
agree.
one-on-one competition.
Yep.
So yeah, it kind of morphed into that. And people call it the Texas rankings, people call it the TAL rankings. We do run it, and it could be considered both. So
Now you guys typically have what, 4 to 8 events a year?
no, so what our only events that we have typically are 5 events. We have 5 regions in the state: north, south, east, west, and central. And one of those regions gets Texas State, so they won't have a qualifier that year. So we'll have 4 qualifiers, and then Texas State, which is 5. And then we are affiliated with a few other promoters that are here in this, in the state. Sean Hancock and Greg Sharp. We help them with a couple of their events that they have. So, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I'm probably involved in about 7 or 8 events a year total, 5 of which are TAL.
Yeah, I've been to a few of you guys' events. Typically, you guys have like 200 plus athletes, 100 plus entries, 200 plus entries in some of the bigger events. And
Yeah, consistently, it's been pretty good. You get to the outer rim of Texas, you start really dropping off. Obviously, your main hubs are going to be your concentration. There's a big concentration in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Another big concentration in the Houston area. San Antonio is really growing. We're actually at this moment out the past couple of events we've had in San Antonio compared to the Houston area. We're kind of at the same pace there as far as entries and numbers. So the regions are growing, and they're pretty self-sufficient in a sense. Like our southern region here in San Antonio we just had, there was very little participation from the other regions, and naturally so. Texas is just so big, it's difficult to travel across it. So we had trying to remember exactly what we had. We had over 150 entries, which is a pretty decent sized tournament. It's not big, but it's decent.
now you have been arm wrestling since 2019. Are you still competing?
Am I still what?
Competing?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There are some events I don't pull depending upon my workload that day. I might be short on referees, I might be short on this, and I might have to fill it in. So if my workload gets to be a little too much, I may or may not pull that day. But I typically pull our events and some of the other with the other promoters and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I do all right.
Awesome. I got a question for you. It's not off topic, but I'm just
Okay.
curious on your position on the strap. Are you like a favor? Do you like the strap? No. So
No,
you prefer on holding on, right?
I would much prefer someone to hold on to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should be more of a strap guy just because of the nature of the way arm wrestling is. I don't practice in it enough. But I would much rather not go into the straps. Most of the time, guys will want to go in the straps with me, and I'll tell them no. Like you got to earn it.
Yeah. That's the thing too, right? So the whole
Yeah.
thing now with a lot of these promoters are all straps, all slips go to the straps, which is
Yeah.
just like that option just said you're allowed to let go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I agree. I don't. Guys are gonna slip. I mean,
Well, slips happen.
yeah. They're gonna happen naturally, and they're gonna happen on purpose in a professional way. You know, So, but, and that's gonna happen. But to your point, I really think that the intentional slips aren't called enough. You know, and I think there's a little bit of I don't really like this, but the new thing that I'm hearing now is that if a slip occurs, even in a intentional slip position in the act of pulling, that they're not considering it an intentional slip, which I don't agree with.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, if that's part of the rules, then it's part of the rules. But yeah, I mean, it's either if you know, you open up your hand, you ball it up underneath, you know, and yeah, you might, if you ball your hand up completely, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing this and slip, and they're saying, well, that's in the act of pulling, so that, well, then what do we have the rules for?
Right. Like I've always, the way I referee, you know, like you said, there are rules, you got to follow whatever that association's rules are, you have to
Sure.
enforce those rules. But for me, if you're regripping, you're regripping for a purchase. You're not regripping to get out of the hand. You're trying to get more of the hand, and that's proper regripping. So when
Yeah.
you're not doing that, you're either trying to get an advantage by climbing up somebody's fingertips. Then your option is now I have to slip because this guy just grabbed my fingers. He's not
Sure.
holding on to my hand, he's holding on to my fingers. So what's my option? I gotta bail out or let him, you know, break my fingers or pull me down with my fingers. So
Sure.
I've always been, my mindset's always, when you regrip, you're trying to get more of the hand, not less of the hand.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
from
Yeah.
a referee standpoint, I think Reza will agree, like that's what we're looking for. And if you're not doing that, you're trying to intentionally slip for the
Yeah.
most part, you know, unless you're in a bad position.
Yeah, essentially, I've always felt that a regrip should be an attempt to gain control, not to lose control. You
Yeah.
know, so essentially, as Scott was saying, you're climbing the hand, you're looking to gain more control. You're essentially probably going to go out to the fingers with your climb.
Yeah.
And typically, once a person feels they've lost control, they want to either flop and dive,
Yeah.
or they want to ball up and run away, you know, and
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've always seen the ball up and run away. What I'm seeing a lot lately is the cut underneath.
That's
It's the
Dallas Langston's favorite.
yeah. It's I lost center. I'm losing my hand. Now I'm just going to turn and cut
Yep.
underneath.
Yep,
Yeah.
I call it
And
I call it the dive. You're just diving out and hoping that shit goes right.
Yeah.
and that's the weird thing, right? Because it's usually done by, you know, I mean, pressers do it, but like the real like the ones I see like are exaggerated are generally top rollers that are starting to lose their hand, and they're just cutting and running underneath,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, I mean, but I think you guys being the refs that you are, I think you definitely can tell the difference between a regrip and a hand wide open.
Yeah.
You know, with a guy holding on to your thumb and you're literally just doing their hand. That's not, you know. So
The thing that's difficult, the reason I've always felt that cameras are critical to the
Yeah.
reffing is persons here, they start to rotate, they maintain one finger as the
Mhm.
stipulate. Then they come out here. That happens in a millisecond. As a
Yep.
ref, you're probably going to make the call as a senior ref 80% of the time accurately, as a master ref, let's say 85 to 95% accurate. But there's still that 10% variance. And when you have a camera, the camera tells no lies. And I've always tried to encourage everybody to incorporate camera systems in their reffing, simply because I feel there's a higher level of accuracy. Now, a lot of people feel that stopping the match, replaying it, cuts into the event. But when you start talking about events that there's high payouts, I think that it's kind of important. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Not to mention though, like there is no waiting period if you do it properly. You run the next match. You review the last match while the other match is running. Then if there's a discrepancy, you bring the guys back up. You tell them you made the call. It was a bad call. We're going to run the match again.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting point you make, Scott, because typically promoters, they actually continue that match, postponing production, postponing entertainment, versus letting that match kind of sit to the side, bringing another match up, and then whatever the call is on that match, either re-having that match or just allowing the call to be made and the match is over.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess from the promoter side of it, if you have the staff to do something like that, because typically, if you're running 2 tables and you've only got 4 refs, you need those other 2 refs to be part of the objection, and and then you need another ref to help review it. If you've got a senior or a master on staff, you want the highest level guy to kind of look at it as well. So it can get, it's a perfect process, obviously, if the conditions are right.
Yeah.
What is a typical TAL event run? Like 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours? What's like the typical runtime of an event with 100 entries, let's say, your bigger events?
100 entries?
Yeah.
Oh, 100 entries will run at 4 hours.
Oh, so you guys
Or
are running,
less.
how many tables do you guys typically run when you're doing events like that?
Well, lately, most of our events have been at 3 tables. There have been a couple events that I think everything we run this year has been 3 tables. We had 1 or 2 events last year that we ran 2 tables. But like we ran Texas State this past year. We had somewhere right around, I want to say 320, 330 entries at Texas State. We ran it on 3 tables and we were done in about 6.5 hours.
Pretty good time. I mean, again, how many entries you have, running 3 tables was a smart idea, though.
And one thing we did change this year, and it seems to be working out fairly well if people follow the instructions, is we run amateurs straight out of the box at the beginning of the tournament. We run all amateurs. And then the pro classes, or what we call open classes, they have a set time of 3:00. So their event will start at 3:00. They will have an additional weigh-in from 2 to 3. So basically, I've got 3 weigh-ins. I've got early weigh-ins for everybody. I got the morning of weigh-ins, and that's for everybody. And then from 2 to 3:00, I'll have someone running registration for just the open and masters classes for guys that say aren't cutting or whatever like that. They can show up literally at 2:00 and not have to show up at 9, and hang around the venue for 6 hours before they pull or whatever. So if you're an open class and you're right on point on weight, you show up to our event at 2:00, you weigh in, you register, you get you something to drink, get you something to eat, and within an hour you're pulling.
Good. It's a good process. I like that too with the masters, not forcing them to come and watch the whole event. They could show up a little later and still weigh in and still pull.
Yeah. So if you're an open class only puller, your day is about 3 hours long, if you do it right. Now, if you're cutting a lot, you have to do an early weigh in or something like that. Then you're kind of subjecting yourself into a longer day. But
Hey, do you have a puller, like a favorite puller, favorite arm wrestler that you like to watch, or do you have any specific guy or girl?
Man, I'll tell you this. When I first started arm wrestling, and even into like I first started off with the TAL doing video. I was a videographer. And like my TV would stay on YouTube, and I think like everybody, right? And you type in arm wrestling and you just let the videos play, right? Hours and hours and hours. Once I started promoting, I watch 0 arm wrestling now. Like 0. Like I'll watch like your big events, like your Knuckles Up or your East versus West or King of the Table or something like that.
Yeah.
But like as far as like the average arm wrestling video, I don't watch those anymore unless it's something specific that I'm looking for. Naturally, I like a lot of the technical stuff from like Coach Ray and Giannis. I like a lot of the stuff outside of arm wrestling, like stretches and the nerve stretches and stuff like that they demonstrate a lot in their videos. So, I mean, if I'm looking to like go somewhere for some advice on some person, I might try them first, see if they've got anything out there already, because they have a ton of content out already.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. As far as a favorite arm wrestler, man, I don't know that I don't know.
This in Texas. You have a favorite guy in Texas you like?
Favorite guy in Texas.
You might get in trouble if he says, "Oh shit."
Well, it wouldn't be anything different than any other day.
Like I like Danny Gillian. I think he's pretty good. He's fun.
Oh, Danny's just
he always has wars.
Oh
Freddie
my God.
Sanchez is a character. He's definitely got, some credit. Freddie Sanchez.
Oh yeah, Freddie.
Oh, Freddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Freddie's all right. Freddie's all right. I like Freddie.
Freddie's a character. I met him when I came out to that tournament a while back with Travis. And I met Freddie. He wasn't as heavy as he is now, but he was pretty cool. I liked him.
Yeah, I repped him and Miguel Ortagus, and they had a great match. I mean, it was like neck and neck, dude. Like really good match, and lots of character. Good kid.
No, yeah, he's definitely a character. He's definitely. I mean, I think just like in today's times, I think he's he's trying to capture the social media side of things, and I think he's doing a pretty good job in doing that. He is a good arm wrestler. He's not afraid. I mean, he'll arm wrestle. He'll arm wrestle with guys. So, yeah, Freddie's all right. I like Freddie.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I like Tucker Keating. I like Tucker. There's a few of the 242 guys. That's my class that I really just like. I've been kind of like Tucker's one. That's a mountain for me, right? Like that's my mountain here in Texas before anything else.
Yeah, he's a bad dude.
Is Tucker. He's really good.
How do you feel in the rankings with your arms? Is your right better? Is your left better?
Right's definitely better.
Yeah. And then where do you feel you are in comparison to the other athletes in Texas?
I mean, I think if I pursued the rankings, I think conservatively, and I don't know if anybody would really disagree with it. I would definitely be top 10 in the 242, if not maybe right around that 6 mark. There's, a lot of guys. You got Tucker Keating up there. You got James Chansey. James Chansey is another tough one. He's really tough. The past couple Texas states I've been able, or not Texas. Let's see, what was it? I didn't get to arm wrestling in 2022 at Texas State. I got a decent bracket draw on that one. And the way we were running our classes at the time, Tucker Keating he pulled up into the supers as well as the 242s. Well, we pulled the supers class first. And so he had to pull the big boys first, and I was able to sneak in a win on him there after him being tired.
Was that your strategy, running that class first, or?
That's the way we used to run it. We used to do the natural, like lightest on this side, heaviest, and then meet in the middle.
Yeah.
We restructured the way we do those things now. So, if we basically on the tables we run, let's say we have a 2-table tournament. Table 1 will be 154, 176. Table 2 will be 242, 243. And then as those tables open up, we'll throw the 198 and the 220 on what opens up. If we run 3 tables, then just like that, 154, 176, 198, 220, 242, 243 in that order. And that's just part of like the structure thing of letting, hey, you're a super or you're 242, you're on table 3, that's what your class is going to be. You don't have to worry about table 1, table 2, whatever. So just kind of adding a little bit more structure to the tournament. So hopefully people will come in, get to the table, get out. We can run
a lot of the heavier guys. They always feel kind of like they got to wait forever too. A lot of events back in the day when I used to compete, it would always start lowest weight category, which I would typically be in, and work its way up to supers. And then by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the supers are finally arm wrestling and they're all like mentally and emotionally drained from sitting in a fucking metal chair for 5 hours. And
Yeah.
I think that's a good strategy of actually allowing them to pull earlier on so they're not,
Well, so back in the day, like, 80s, 90s, they would run all the classes. That way nobody was sitting around for too long. And I liked it like that because it gave me a break. Like if I had a war, I wasn't
Yeah.
having to go back up because they're pushing you to the final four, which I think is dangerous in the first place, making the guys go right back up. They're calling them up right as they're walking off the stage. They're calling them back up on deck.
yeah,
Now,
I've had that.
if the class is small, you just run like there's a lot of times there's a big class and not as big as class. So you run them till where they're all even, right? And then you
Yeah.
run them continuously every weight class into the finals. That's the way they used to do it. Now it's
Yeah.
always everybody's doing the final four. Let's run it, and it's all because of time. It's all because of their time. They want to get this done, and it doesn't really save any time. That's the crazy part. It really
Yeah.
doesn't save any time. So it's just like running it down to the final four. And a lot of times there's only 6, 7, 8 guys tops in a class. So there's
Yeah.
no reason to run it like that. I just personally, I think it should go back to just run all the classes across the board. Nobody's sitting around like you were saying, Reza. The heavyweights aren't like, dude, I've been sitting here for 3 hours, man.
I used to feel bad for him, bro, because I'd be in fucking water, and as soon as I'm walking off table, they're like, "Press it to the table." I'm like, "What the fuck, dude?" And then this guy's over here, and he's half asleep, pissed the fuck off because he can't get he's so bored at the event because he hasn't arm wrestled, and I'm already into the event for like an hour or two, and it's like,
Yeah.
poor guy's got to wait 3-4 hours, and as you said,
So-
it is dangerous for the athlete.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, I think there's definitely some pointers to all that and stuff like that. I mean, one of the major reasons we changed and structured different things is because the pullers. I mean, oh, we had to be here all day and all this and that and da 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 da. So you naturally just try to, okay, how can I speed your day up? How can I get you out of there? It's like we don't do awards at the end anymore.
Do it after
you
every
doing,
class
lads?
finishes, or
We run everything right to the finals, and then we give you your award. And if you want to leave, you're free to leave. You don't have to wait another 2 hours to get an award.
Right.
yeah, I had friends back in the day that once they knew they won, they didn't even care to get the award. They just walked the fuck
That's
out of the
good.
tournament.
Yeah.
If there
Some
was
people
no
do
money,
that.
they'd be like, "Peace."
Yeah, some people do that. And and so far, I mean, you want a picture? Cool, go get a picture, But my thing, Texas is a big state, and we do have some people that really travel that come to our events. So being able to get them out, in and out of the door, and that way they can get home that night. They don't have to stay another night or something like that. If it makes them happy and it speeds the event up for us and there aren't any complaints, then,
Yeah. Like I thought with the membership league, I thought it would be cool to incorporate a banquet. Like if it's the nationals, it's the end of the year, it's the nationals. Don't give the awards away until we go back. We all clean up. We come back to a big banquet that has food, an open bar, and then we present all the national champions in front of everybody because it is kind of supposed to be a big deal when you become
Sure.
a national champ. So to give it some prestige and also some professionalism to have that type of setup, a banquet that we could all get cleaned up, get dressed up, and enjoy each other's company. Watch a blooper reel, maybe the match of the year, have arm wrestler of the year, rookie of the year, referee of the year, promoter of the year. You know what I mean? I think something like that needs to happen
Yeah.
I just think it'd be really cool for all of us to be able to be in that type of event,
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it could be structured right, then it could happen, and that would definitely be something cool to have.
And like you said, as far as like you're having your state league, like everybody, like right now, these qualifiers, they're not even qualifiers. So IFA, all you have to do is enter.
Yeah.
You don't have to win a single match and you're automatically on the team to go to Worlds. I don't like that at all. Like, I like the fact that you had to be top two to be able to get on the team. Like, it meant something. Now it's just like it's washed out. It's like just show up, pay your entry fee, and now you're invited to go to Greece,
Yeah.
And then the WAF obviously has had its own, problems with disqualifying people. If you enter the IFA, you can't arm wrestle WAF. And I've been to two WAFs, and I always say this, I suggest anybody who hasn't went to go, but I'll never go to another one. Just for the fact that it's no money to be made, and the circumstances, you really don't know what they're going to be like. Like Brazil in 2012 wasn't the best setup. You know what I mean? It was like, it was very, very poorly organized. But Turkey, on the other hand, I think the Turkey I went to was 2018, and that was like one of the biggest WAFs ever held. Like, there was 22 guys in the Grandmasters class, which is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a good show, So I think, again, we all got to work together to make this sport something big as a unit, than all these separate entities that just are trying to pull. A lot of them are just trying to pull money. Obviously, you can throw a tournament and you can make some money. But if you love the sport, that's not why you're doing it. Yeah, it's cool to make money while you're doing it. That's your time. But to not think about the sport, like I see that happening with these elite guys. The elite guys are making money off their names. You know what I mean? And they don't care. To me, they don't care so much about the sport. They just care about their own social media following, because that's how they're making money. And they're also getting matches like that now. You know what I mean? If you got a big social media following, they want you to go to East versus West because you got eyes on you, because you got a social media following. But the problem still falls back on rules and the format of what's going on. Like the East versus West in Orlando, I went to that. It was just a couple of weeks ago. And by far, it was the best staging out of all of them. Chance Shaw and his parents and his partner, they put on a great show. They put on amazing. The stage setting was awesome. It was the closest thing to professional that I've seen in the United States.
Yeah.
So, like I always say, arm wrestling's growing, but it's growing sideways. It's not growing this way. And that's because we're still just arm wrestlers. We don't have outsiders that are watching. Like, if you got Texas against California, everybody from Texas is going to be rooting for Texas.
Sure.
So that's how you get a fan base. And we're putting together, like we've talked about this, I'm sure too, but a team event where you can win 100, like the best team wins $100,000. It'd be better if it was $1 million, right? Because then you would have so many people putting teams together to win $1 million. I mean, that's like, to me, that's the ultimate ticket right there. If you have, but you gotta have qualifiers to have the best team in Texas. So you have your regionals, and then you have your finals, and then you have your best team representing Texas. And that's the same for every state. Like that's the most pure way of doing it. And if it's a 20-man team, you're looking at, let's say it is $100,000 payout. You're looking at $5,000 a guy or girl to win on that team out of a 20-man team. And I say a 20-man team is because I think you should have 2 deep in each weight class on your team. Right? You have a backup. Like if you got hurt, you got a backup, and they have a backup. So then now those guys would go against each other in the team event.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way we're going to get a fan base. Right now, we're looking at elite guys that are promoting, don't hold on. If you're holding on, you're an idiot. If you're not in the strap, you shouldn't be on the table. Every match should be in the strap. It's like, wait a second, that's not arm wrestling. Arm wrestling is gripping up and holding on. It's not an aid or a handicap that wraps your hand together that does the holding on for you. It's just a different game that way,
Yeah. No.
Hopefully we get that figured out. We can start getting, a better fan base that's outside of arm wrestling, and they're not looking at it like that's not arm wrestling. Could you hear that comment all the time when outsiders watch? videos, they're like, you can't do that. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to do that. It's like, well, they let them do that. You know what I mean? Their arms above the table and you don't see the guy, but that's legal. Or his
Yeah.
elbows up in the air and they're considering it on the pad as long as it's hovering over the pad, but he just gained 2 inches in height. So that's a huge advantage when your elbows up off the pad. So that rule needs to be eliminated, abolished. But
So
certain
Billy,
certain powers aren't
I
letting that
cut you
happen.
off, Scott. Give us some closing words. We're gonna close it right about now. What do you feel the sport's gonna grow into in the next 5 years? Less than 10-second answer.
Less than 10 seconds.
Uh-huh.
And how long you said? 5 years?
5 years.
It doesn't. I think somebody made real quick. So I think somebody made it. I saw a comment on social media today that I think it's going to take longer than that, but I think right now we're kind of at a peak. And it's going to take, we're going to have to sit there for a little while until we figure out whether or not it's going to continue to rise or if it's going to taper off and level out or whatever. But